just think of it. It's just pure math, okay? When you're like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, at that time, for you to grow your new revenue at 100%, you need say X. At $1 million, you need say X, and when you get to 5 million, you need a lot more. So the kind of pipeline, the amount of pipeline you need to continue to grow at that 100%, 50, 80% as you get grower, as you get bigger, gets increasingly hard. It starts getting very tough. And if you're largely depending on either inbound business, or if you're largely depending on outbound business, then you will start seeing the costs really hit the roof. How many BDRs can you hire? How many of them can be truly productive? Can they get you 2 leads, 2 meetings in a month, 4 meetings in a month? Does that really take you to the kind of 4x or a 5x pipeline?
Hi everyone, I'm Arvind Parthiban. Welcome to Marketing Nation's SaaSBoomi podcast new series, and I have a very special guest, Anand Venkatraman. Hi Anand, how are you?
Arvind, wonderful to meet you. Always great to catch up. Thank you for having me here. Hi everyone.
Before I have to do a quick introduction about you. Like I think one of the best intros you have. Like there are very few people in the country who had the opportunity to not just work with big corporates, but also with startups. Like you have this experience from both the world. You have been with Salesforce, you have been with Akamai, and then you were in Freshworks, where we both got an opportunity to work together. And then you were also recently you were with CleverTap, one of the startups that you know. So and lastly, now you're plunged into starting up yourself, and congratulations on that. So Anand is the CEO and co-founder of Growthloop.ai. So it's been an incredible journey for you. And did I miss anything? Anything you want to add?
Thank you, Arvind. I would have possibly told the same thing. The only thing I would have wanted to add is I've had the opportunity to work, of course, in big and small companies. Learned a lot about structure, a lot about organization, learned about system policy, on how big companies plan their businesses and go about delivering. But once I joined a startup, I realized that life here is very different, and a lot of this organization and big thought process and strategy needs to go to the window. Yes, you need to be planned, in a way, but it's heavily about execution. So I'm happy for all the training I got in the big companies, but I'm really thrilled with the phenomenal experience that I've got in the last 5 years that I've been with the startups. And I've also been fortunate to have seen the journey on both direct sales as well as indirect sales sides, which makes me equally empathetic and understanding to the challenges of both sides. So when people come to me with problems on either side or opportunity on either side, I'm able to see this with I would say more balanced lenses than people would normally be. So
No, absolutely, absolutely. Just for the audience here, right? Anand excels in a lot of things, inside sales, outbound, partner channel, and so on. So, like one episode is not going to do us the justice in covering all the topics. So I'm gonna actually narrow down on one topic today, and I know we can talk about GTM as a whole function, but today the reason we want you to actually educate our SaaSBoomi audience on this one particular niche of partner channel, right? Like this is something which has been also an Achilles heel for India, right? Like Indian startups jump into outbound sales, or they do organic, and there are a lot of things which we do, but there is this huge channel which usually we either start late, or we don't know when to start, right? Like I'm going to focus on partner channel today, and I'm going to pick your brain and dig deep into it. So that's going to be the topic of discussion today. So let me jump straight into the first thing. Like the first question is, let's break down the partner channel, right? There are so much, like there are SI partners, resellers, wars. There are so many jargons which we use in the partner channel world. I want you to break down for someone who has never done partner channel, and like if you were to tell them in a very simple word, what is this channel? What is this world? Like what should we know before we get into this?
Awesome. Thanks, Arvind. I mean, you're really taking me back, decades back in my life. I hope it doesn't, show my age, but I will take it back. Okay. So, when it comes to partners, I think one logical separation of these two will be the partners who do revenue for you, and a set of partners who are, say, the technology partners who help in doing the other aspect of it, which I will cover. So the partners who will work with you and do revenue are typically, you can call them as resellers. These are the partners who will, take your product, sell it to a customer. It could be like a, margin based business. It could be a, transfer price. So they buy from you and sell it to a customer. uh, and then they are also owning the sales part of it. So they're largely owning, it's not that they're finding a lead and giving it to you and asking you to sell, but they own the sales aspect. They will manage pre-sales, they will close it. So that is what a reseller is. But over a period of time, the resellers, when the technology partnerships, or rather when the partners started coming up in the SaaS or software space, they also started doing implementation. So these partners, when they do implementation, apart from the full scale selling, they are solution partners. So the whole bunch of resellers who then started calling themselves as value added resellers because they were adding some value. Finally, when they started doing implementation, they started being called as solution partners. So, not to get confused, solution partner is equal to, a reseller is equal to a VAR. So wherever you see these three names, they are actually the same set of people who could be, depending on the quality they bring on the table, depending on, the kind of experience they have, they could do a little more of technical work, or they could do more of selling, or they could do, none of either. You will find those partners also. So that is your reselling business. Now, on the sales side, you have another bunch of partners called referral partners. Okay, so these are, typically partners who, may understand your business, or they may not understand the business, but they are just happy introducing you to some potential customers. Okay, so these are the referral guys, and with the referral guys, all that you can expect is they can pass you some, phone number, email ID. They can pass you a deal, and after that, they will sit away and they'll expect you to go out, close the deal, and after the deal is closed, there is an expectation for them to, receive some commission. Okay, so that is, what comes in as a referral. On top of both of these, you will have partners who are, very deep system integrators. They're very large in size. You can look at a company like a TCS or an Accenture, HCL. These companies would also do some sort of a reselling, but they are actually selling a solution. They're selling a very large turnkey solution to a customer, very big, implementation that they're delivering, some digital transformation work. There, your products are going in as, I won't call them as point solution, but they are playing a part in the overall solution. So those are global system integrators. And as you become bigger, as your target market becomes bigger, then you may want to start looking at these kind of partners also. So they also are largely playing on the revenue side. So on revenue, the smallest bunch could be the referral partners who are just giving you the leads and walking away. And then in between are the reselling partners who will sell, and they don't mind you being in the whole sales process. They'll be happy that, okay, you come along with me and sell. They will implement and close it. They are resellers is equal to VAR is equal to solution partners. And then on top of them, the really large ones are global system integrators who actually don't have anything to do with you. So they will say that I'm closing this deal, just stay back, I will close it, and be happy when the deal closes. So they are little, they're very different to work with, but when it comes to really large solutions, they are the guys who will be the right sort of folks. On the other side, on the technology side, you have ISV partners, and with ISV partners are typically the integration partners. These companies help you in extending your solution. So, for example, as a product developer, as a product builder, you would know that you only want to focus on the core capabilities that is required for a product, but anything in the adjacency, you want to work with a partner to build it out for you. Those adjacencies can actually open up the markets. Like, for example, if you want to get into Japan, and then you will need a line messenger as a part of your stack. Or in Korea, you will need Kakao Talk. So for these, it is better for you to work with these partners who will come and integrate and extend your solution. So these are technically your ISV solutions. And here again, I will mark one more difference, in a sense that those ISVs can be small or big. Like the smaller ISVs are the one which are relatively your size, they're happy to talk to you. They're happy to engage. They're ready to build. They're ready to be. They are happy to do co-marketing, co-engagement, and all the work with you. And then you have the really large ones, strategic ones like an AWS, Google, Microsoft on top of whose platform you're building. So they are also technically a technology partner, and you work with them, the way you engage with them is also a bit different.
Yes, sir. Perfect. I think you literally broke down in detail. I think that helped. But also, just to add one more thing, I think there is also this thing of your ISV partners can also be a reseller. You can resell their products as well, and also they can also integrate as a value-added product also. So, super. Yeah. So now I'll ask you the interesting question, right? Like, see, when it comes to ISV, I think product management team will want to come up with a list of integrations they want to do with the other products to penetrate into the market. That's where they first start with or getting listed in the marketplace. And then comes sales, where sales wants to identify partners in different region where they don't have people, or like maybe language issues or things like that. So depend on the partners to go and sell. And then comes the value added resellers, where instead of we selling our pre-sales and support team there, then they are going to do implement, or they code on top of it and do it. Like, the story is this: how will you structure the org? Where will it sit? Who will run this? Because it touches multiple things. It touches marketing, it touches sales, it touches product. Like, the biggest challenge I personally have seen when I saw a partner thing is, how will you prioritize? Who will own this? Should marketing own it, sales own it, or product own it? How do you think the structure should be?
I mean, I think different companies do it differently, and to an extent, it also depends on whether you're a product-driven company or a GTM or a sales-driven company. I think that part largely comes into play. But what we need to realize is this partnership will go nowhere without the sponsorship of product. So, whether you make it sit in sales and let product be the hero saying that this is your guy sitting in sales, or this is your guy sitting in channels or partnerships and, doing the work, or you put this person under product and tell the salesperson that, there is a close coordination between you two people, and, they will, I won't say take your orders, but they will actually, listen to your expectations and work with the product team to land it and coordinate and land it. See, either of these will work, honestly, Arvind. But what is important is, what is the level of comfort and coordination that exists between the sales and GTM teams, between the GTM and product teams. I would say in smaller teams, maybe it makes sense for us to have them sit with the product team to start with, because there is so much, because those teams are running fast. There is a lot of fluidity in the thinking. I would believe there are multiple things which are on the plate, and there is also a tremendous amount of proactivity needed. So when you're the small partner, when you're starting off, when you're building things, and you're working with a company which is similar size or larger than you, then you should be able to execute on things very fast to retain their trust for tomorrow. When you're talking about a co-marketing engagement, which depends on an integration in place, or when your access to a market depends on a particular integration in place, then how fast you can integrate this, how fast you can bring into your roadmap and deliver really matters, because everything else, finally becomes secondary. So somewhere, if the GTM leadership, takes a back seat and understands that, we're all in the same game, we're all, fighting for the same team, as long as we get the strategies aligned to the revenue goals, strategies aligned to the growth goals, and the product teams are working along with us in prioritizing what is for us, we'll be fine. So I think, for smaller companies, maybe it is fine for it to be with the product teams, but as they become larger, it might make sense, for them to work with the sales teams, because now the sales teams, as they become big, as the GTM teams and channel teams become bigger, there is already an extent of a little bit of a separation that forms between the product teams, because now you're bigger, right? You're sitting in different locations, in different offices, and then it's no longer people catching up over water cooler and just getting things done. You have to block meetings, you have to book meetings, and hopefully the times and the stars align for you to get things done.
And the teams will own a target as well. Like, once you
Correct.
get to a point of, so then the channel team will have a target as well. Yeah,
Correct.
it
Yeah,
makes
they will
sense.
also exactly. They will carry a target. So you will need one person sitting in the sales team who's taking all ownership, who's taking the ownership of educating, the revenue folks, telling them what is coming in, and being the champion for what is expected on the market and taking it back to the product teams and getting it done. So I think it's a journey. I would say both can work, but if you were to really think of one way or the other, then I would say for small teams it makes sense for it to start with the product, because it is very, very heavily product driven. Without product sponsorship, irrespective of the team size, nothing works. But when it becomes slightly bigger, then it is good for it to sit with sales. So the thought process, like you said, the revenue mindset has to come in, and we are not focusing on those really fancy use cases that look good on a website, but something which really solves the problem of a customer. So that's where moving into the side will make sense.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just a little bit deep dive into one particular use case, and this is keeping in mind most of our Indian SaaS companies are just starting up to invest in partner channel, and they don't have a brand like how Freshworks used to or Salesforce have. Like when we as a small startups try and go and reach out to any kind of integration partners or ISV partners or even reselling partners, right? uh, where do we start? Like, it's very easy for them to also not easily reject us. Like, if you were to give some tips on how you identify these partners and how you actually, what you should prepare, like some checklist of things you should go with to get those partners on board would be really helpful.
Yeah, great question, Arvind, and very relevant, because when you're working for a relatively a new startup, then the responses are different. I mean, the same people, when they send those sequences, email sequences from a Google, they get responded. Maybe the response is
Correct.
better. When they send it, maybe from a Growthloop, nothing comes. So these things happen. It is just this is how the reality is, and brand and size really plays an important role. So the way I'll think of it is. We need to have a very good clarity on what our ideal partner profile will be. So just like if you have a clarity on what our ideal customer profile is, we should also actually write it down. Just spend some time thinking what kind of partners we need to onboard, what kind of partners we will need to work. And I'll just step back a little more. I think some sort of thought process and strategy has to be in place. While in startups we will say we don't you need to spend too much time on strategy, but when it comes to this, at least we need to start thinking and writing down on what are we expecting from this partnership. Are we looking for revenue here? Are we looking for market expansion? Are we looking for implementation services? What is the outcome we are trying to drive by bringing in the partners? I think that would be the most important piece for us to do. And if we were to think of revenue, naturally most startups will want to start with that. How do I get my next customer? Where do I get my next customer? That's where we may want to just think of an ideal partner profile which is emanating from your ICP. Just think of it. uh, while we say that we are selling to a B2B customer, it's by doing we are doing a B2B sale. It is actually people selling to people. It's just that, right? I mean, it's just that we are sitting in two different
Correct.
businesses and we are interacting
Yeah.
with each other, but it's all at the end of the day relationships. So we will first need to understand for your ICP, the customers who are with you, which kind of partners they buy from. Just do a simple analysis, go back and ask them, hey, do you have any partners selling to you? So who sells to you? Which are your top partners? Just start writing that list down, because this is your ICP, this is your sweet spot, this is where you want to sell. And if you write down all kinds of partners who are selling into that ICP, then you will be able to get to some commonality on what profile of partners are actually selling to these customers. Okay.
Nice.
So that will give you a little bit of an insight on what kind of partners you will want to go after. It will give you a sense of what is the size of the partner, how many employees they can have, what is the revenue range, what geographies, how do they sell, what kind of vertical capability they have, what other complementary products they are selling. So this will give you a sense of a profile of partners that you will want to focus. And then you reach out to the partner, and with that in mind, even before you start reaching out to the partners, it will be important for us to do our internal math on what a unit economics for a partner looks like, because they are coming in to make money, and we are expecting them to invest money. And if we can't show that they can make money even on Excel sheet, in real life, nothing will happen. So at least write it down, draw it on an Excel sheet, saying in year one, for this is the kind of money you can make, this is the number of customers you can have, this is the top line you will make, this is the bottom line you will make, these are the implementation services you will derive on the next year. There is so much of recurring money that comes in, additional new customer. Just put it together in a way that on paper when they look at it, it looks like yes, this is doable, this is really doable. Also add investment, saying that for us to get to this is the number of people you will need to put in year one. I want you to do this. Year two, I want you to add maybe a technical person, something like that. So some sort of a clarity on what is the investment needed. And in an ideal scenario, not even ideal scenario, say uh, in an average scenario, and not in the best scenario, what is the kind of money they can make and what kind of money they can make in the best case scenario. So this will give them some confidence that this is doable. I mean, this is possible. Also, talk about the kind of customers you have, so they'll be able to relate the customers with where they sell. So for them, if they look like, okay, these look like the customers we anyway service, so looks like this product also we can sell. And another important part for everybody to do, I mean, here is we need to be very open and ask them, what does your account book look like? So very, very clearly ask them, show me, or if they can't show, tell me your customers. How many customers do you have? Who are your customers? So if once you have that clarity, if they don't have a good account book, then there is no point in having two guys who don't have any customers. So nothing is going to come out of it. So we should just go through this, figure out how many customers they have, what kind of customers they have. Those customers, are they fitting into the kind of profile that we want to engage? Because those are the things we've anyway ticked and we've taken off. If they have a good set of customers, uh, and we've shown them what money they can make, also ask them very clearly, so what is your vision from the partnership? When you sign a new partner, what do you expect? How much money do you expect? Do you expect a million at the top line, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million? Just be very clear. What is the bottom line you expect? If there is alignment in what we are putting on paper versus what is there in their mind, and with the other dots that we have ticked off, like ICP selling, IPP, account book, etc., and the investment, then it looks like a good partner for us to work with. So that will increase our success to be success, increase our rate to be successful. But then there are again, there are multiple pitfalls for us to make that work as well. But at least you will have partners who you believe are the best position to help you be successful in your business if you go with this.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think there are 2 points which I want to also a little bit talk about is, see, ICP, when you mentioned about ICP, it's very, very important. Like, for instance, what we are doing at SuperOps is, so we are in an established market, and already most of the partners are in bed with one vendor. So when you said ICP, like immediately we were thinking about what we did is we actually picked the vendor partners who are selling to enterprise. Okay, they are already selling to enterprise and they already work with competitors like ConnectWise or Kaseya, and they will actually come across deals which they can't sell at that cost point to ConnectWise. So they will have to look for alternatives. So their account book had small businesses and they didn't have any vendor, medium small businesses. So like it's okay to even they being partners with your competitors, but not in your same market size. And ICP of that level of understanding should also be done. And the second thing which I wanted to little bit double click on is, as you said, right, like their account book and how much they will be making and what kind of investment they will be making. So in the initial days, like as a startup, I think this is also a challenge because they won't have a budget to develop partner channel in the initial days. So like how like and also because you are new, they are not gonna allocate an individual immediately, and they're not gonna spend a lot in the initial days. Like how do you expect? Like one of the things which we were trying to do is to make sure that the leads are provided by us in the beginning, and if then probably they hire and allocate people and then do it. Like, can we talk a little bit on how you can get them onboarded, because we still are growing and we want them to get that trust.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, because it is one thing to find the right partner, which is also hard. To onboard the partner is also very hard. So what we have done, or what we had done, was we had created a separate team which was only gold on finding partners. So they'll bring partners, they'll bring all this analysis, bring in the best bunch of partners, and then how do you make them productive is a hard job, man. It's tough. It's tough, and I say 80 to 85% of your partners will fall off because they will not be able to get those three deals, which will give them the confidence that going forward it's going to be useful. So we have to, you were very right, we have to feed the engine. You have to, put some effort because, first of all, it's not the best known company. It's a new product which is coming out, and we realize it's a hard sell, and we are expecting them to come in and do all the hard work for us, do the heavy lifting. Then at some point, it's in some space we are, we are not being realistic. So, we could look at, giving them leads. Maybe we can, as a part of a partner program, if we, even if you're the smallest, company starting off, it's good to have a partner program, some structure where you can say, I'll give you some MDF. There is some money which I'm allocating to you for you to go do your own demand generation. So you can do your events. You can set up, for each lead, I'll give you so much. So there is something, some incentive you can tie to activity rather than the final outcome, because we are all working towards it. That is one thing we can do. What we can also do is, beyond giving leads, we can tell them, you show me your customers, I will do the selling. So just I'll, while you're doing referral, but I will take you as a reseller, don't worry. So we'll work with you. I'll do the selling, you come with me on all calls, you learn from me, and then we do three deals and you will learn how to do it. Then one more thing what you could do is, we could actually make them into, find good partners who can do implementation and start giving them implementation services. So after the deal is done, I'll say even the initial implementation we will only have to do, and they will do documentation, but at least they can come in and they can be a part of it, they can learn, and they will start making some money. Because these partners are coming from a world where they have access to the customers, they know our ICP, etc. They will always position a product which they know well. Between the two products, whatever makes them look better in front of the customer, that is what they will share. Nobody wants to look ignorant in front of a customer. So you bring them into the mix, take them for meetings and tell them, it is my deal, but you come, I'll give you some money, it's okay, some commission I'll give. My deal is closed, you come do the implementation. So once they go through this process a few times, then they will feel good, they'll get confident, and they'll start positioning them. So we will have to, you are very, very right, we will have to feed the engine, unless we are a very large company where the demand just comes and they have to be there to create the demand. If they have to sell, then we have to feed it.
No, absolutely. Like it's a long term investment, and it's okay to leave some money on the table, and that channel has to pick up, and more partners believe in you. You have that ripple effect on it. All right. So, just to ask you a broad question, so that from your experience, and I think only you will be able to answer this. Like, what do you think would be the top challenges in setting up a channel for startups, or even from your experience, like if you were to like say, hey, look out for these things so that you don't have, you avoid these mistakes which I did in my experience, like what would be the top three challenges?
Correct. See, I think first thing I will say is getting management sponsorship. It is so important. I mean, it's not like direct sales where the efficiency, the sales efficiency is very easily visible, like it's evidently visible. When a rep is not performing, the number is not delivered, then you can really see that something is not happening, something is not landing. But when it comes to channels, it's a long game. I think you are very right in saying it's a long game, and it has to be understood and expected and worked towards as a long game. So that's where, while the plan is being put together, the thought process is in, we should make it abundantly clear to the management that you ask me all tough questions every day, but you look for a 3-year horizon. Don't look for a next month. You ask me all tough questions, I'm ready to answer. And of course there will have to be milestones that you need to cover, etc. But that management sponsorship is super, super, super important. And I've seen many times the partnerships not go all the way and they get stalled or broken because somewhere somebody thinks that, hey, I'm putting money but nothing is coming. But it's a long game. Just give it time. There will be signals. I mean, as a management, you have to look for signals. You have to ask for, show me the partners you have, show me the pipeline they are generating, what is their level of activity, engagement. So that will give you signals on whether things are on track or not. But it's a long game. Give it the long game. So that I think is a challenge. The second part I would think will be not establishing rules of engagement early enough. Okay, this is like super super critical because you are introducing another channel, another bunch of people who will operate maybe in the same market as your direct sales teams, and they will they may reach out to the same set of customers if you've not thought through it. Then what happens? They are reaching out to your existing customers. Then what happens? So you will have to, and if two partners are fighting, which is like the most common, then what happens? So really establishing those rules of engagements are super super important. And I can tell you from my experience, even in the larger companies, many times the rules of engagement is not understood. Like in one of my previous organizations, I would not like to name them, but if we had a situation where a new partner will, walk into every renewal, active renewal of another partner and try to undercut a deal, and this was happening for way too long. We got to know, and then we had a, we had a long conversation because we had to cut it, but there were no rules of engagement. Imagine, a company of that size not having anything in written saying that, you can't go in and sell into another company's territory and, another partner's existing business. It was not there. It was unwritten, but it was always a gentlemanly expectation that you will not do it. So, largely it was not done, but, it started happening. So we had to just shut it down. Every time in the quarter end, there were deals which had to be logged in, and the company will buckle under pressure and take it. Chalo, I mean, this deal has come through this other partner, but we'll take it. But we had to just put a stop to it. Nothing doing. If the deal doesn't go through, doesn't go through. But we cannot let this happen. So many times those rules of engagement, it needs to be written down. It needs to be communicated, conveyed, and if they're not being followed, then there have to be repercussions. So that is the second thing why these tend not to happen. The third will be, I think the resourcing will also be critical. Having very clear roles and responsibilities on, who's going to own what, how will the teams work together. So are you managing revenue? Are you a revenue holder? Are you a pipeline holder? How do you work with the, different teams? I think that part needs to be solved. Uh, and then also important would be some marketing budget. So it can come from in form of an MDF or something, but make it an independent sales motion in a sense that they don't need to keep coming back and asking the marketing leader for some money to do something. There has to be, as long as you can bring the as long as you can have the accountability, but you can bring the decision making like two levels down where things can move a lot faster, maybe at a channel partner level where there is a small allocation for people to go do their own marketing effort, then that will also make sense. That is, I would say, the fourth thing. And the most important of all is invest in a PRM, partner relationship management tool stack early, as early as possible. Because everything we discussed will fly on emails. It will happen on calls if you don't have a system which is tracking it. I think if you're getting into the partner world, if you want to sell to the partners, then that will be your best investment on day one. I mean, you may not spend too much money if you're starting with the day one, but it is so, so, so important. Everything that you have here can be implemented.
Yeah, I'm going to double click on PRM and the marketing development fund. I think it's important, right? Like PRM, as you said, like it's not just about identifying and hiring, but onboarding PRM is going to help a lot. And most importantly, imagine we having our sales team here and marketing team sitting together. There is already so much of gap in what kind of sales enablement I need to go and uh, close and everything. And there is other factors like language, region, different kind of challenges which partners will go through. And the only thing which is going to help is this PR. Maybe first time it will be just the communication between the account manager and the channel, but PRM is really, really important in having a structure, onboarding, and help for them to go and close and being the extended arm. I think investing in PRM is very, very critical, as you said. And about this MDF, also I want to talk about this. Right, a lot of times for all the startup founders here, we think that hey, this is a channel and it's not an organic channel. You need to also measure the metrics with hey, what is my cost of customer acquisition? How much am I spending for per lead? We are okay to spend $300 a click or $1,000 per lead, but but when it comes to partner channel, like we don't look it into the same lens. So it is important to have the same CAC, cost per lead, cost of and payback. We can also calculate. But in my experience, I think you can validate this. Usually, partner channel, the payback period will be much lesser than the actual paid channels,
Correct. Correct. It does.
right?
It
Like so,
does.
I think it's worth investing MDF and trying this channel. It will bring your cost of customer acquisition in very early days.
Absolutely. It just takes me back to what I was, saying earlier. At the end of the day, while it is a B2B sale, it is people selling to people. And if you can find people who have some relationship or access into an account at this stage, this is the best thing we can ask for. And if they are ready to put you in front of the customer, after that, it's, early days, it is your ability, your product, what you can do with the opportunity you have, but then over a period of time the partner will be able to do it on their own. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Super. I have two tactical questions. I know we've been talking a lot of strategies. Two tactical questions. See, I both in my manage engine days and I think from Freshworks and now even in SuperOps, the one challenge which I have seen is, see, most of our vendors are legacy competitors are legacy vendors who are on-prem. Okay, and the partners in on-prem usually get a higher commission, right? Because it's basically they host it. Sometimes it is not cloud, and every instance will have a different kind of challenge, and the local presence will get a higher commission. uh, so they have more business from the legacy vendors on top of it, and they get support revenue from on-premise. The moment it goes to cloud, the partners feel like they're losing control because we can directly fix things from here. The issues, L2 issues, are going to come down, and they making more revenue out of implementation, hosting. All this goes away, right? What are your few tips on recruiting channel partners or giving them revenue streams other than just that commission? Like it can be 50 to 20 or 25%. Even you can't go up to 40 or 45 like how on-prem does. But is there any tips and tricks which you think we should keep in mind in recruiting these kind of partners?
Yeah, I think a few things we can do. I think you were very right in saying that. You know, I think to be very honest, the challenge was much bigger. Let's say 7, 8, 5, 6 years ago also, when on-prem was there quite significant, but SaaS was slowly coming up. But now when you look at most categories, the fastest growing, all kinds of software, the fastest growing category will be SaaS. So SaaS is really moving up, and not only in terms of growth. Even the category, the largest players themselves are largely becoming SaaS. So even the partners now realize that the fun they had with on premise may not be as much, and with as many vendors going forward. Earlier everybody was on premise, so you could choose between many, but now maybe there are a few on premise vendors who are managing to deliver, but most people are looking to move towards SaaS. And it's a customer's decision, which is very hard for anybody to change. I mean, the whole the user ecosystem is moving towards SaaS, and that is what they prefer. Subscription is what they prefer. And when that happens, in one way, the partner realizes that they have to be open to subscription billing. They'll have to be open to maybe a smaller business to start with, and over a period of time, the revenue will multiply. What I would say is, in these cases, the best case scenario will be to look for partners who are operating in your customer space, who understand subscription business. And I'll take the example of Freshworks here. Our initial partners were all from G Suite, because the big partners, they wanted big margin, they wanted large ARPA, they wanted big implementation services. But the G Suite guys understood subscription model. They understood that deals are smaller, but they are numerous, and it's subscription. So over a period of time, the compounding will happen, the money will multiply. So they got it. They really, really got it. So if the partner doesn't understand it, if they want to keep beating up and saying I only want to do this, then don't break your head over it. Because if they've not understood till now, they've not understood because we go and tell them. But when it comes to finding partners, just try to make them understand, again, show that math, saying that year one, year two, year three, this is how when money goes up, and show this as the money going up exponentially. We had done some of these graphs when we had started you know the ecosystem expansion. We had some good slogans. I'll tell you alone when we talk one on one. So quite interesting stuff which we could take to the market and got the partners interested. So one would be coming back to your question. One would be we can show them how the commission or the money will compound, because when it comes to on-premise, they will make maybe 40% the year one. After that, it is maintenance, which is only 20% of the whole product. So what money will you make? So your money starts diminishing, and you have to sell so much more to continue to make the same money. And now you don't have so many buyers who are ready to buy more. So I think they're already feeling the pain. So if you go and show this, that the money compounds, then they will, smart businessmen will get it, and they will try to come on your side. What you could also do is give them implementation services, like even direct deals. If you close, if you think it's a partner of great promise, then you bring them in and tell them, hey, you implement this for me. Then there is some extra money which is coming through. This is the other part. And of course, I mean, throw in some MDF initially. Maybe don't link it to revenue. Just if a partner has promise, then against the target they have, you give them an MDF and say, we'll run with this for 6 months and see where it goes. I mean, in some cases, if the company is very big, that is the vendor, that is, if we become big and the partner is very strategic, then maybe in some cases you can look at co-funding also. So that co-funding is becoming quite exciting in the market. Big players have started doing it. And when you want to get into a new geo, a completely different culture and language and all of that. I mean, if you want to just try that out, you want to pilot and put two people and see, whether the market is ready for you. You can maybe take this approach. Get two people who are completely committed, go and try to sell, and maybe we can iterate and get a PMF there. If it doesn't happen, then we can exit without much pain. So, there are some of these options which are on the table, but of course, a lot of it will depend on, what you're selling, where you're selling, and some intricacies can be brought in. I hope this helps, man.
Oh, that was wonderful. I think that answered a brilliant question. So, Anand, I think with that, I have only one last question. That's a very so. What's your biggest pet peeve as a founder? This is more like a about you question.
No, I won't. I mean, I think it's too early for me to call anything as a pet peeve. But I think what I would say is I'm getting to the motions to understand how it is to be a partner, to operate alone, to work alone, to do everything alone. I think that is the part which is at this stage starting for me. Uh, but honestly, I'm enjoying it. So I won't call it a pet peeve, but I know that once the product comes out and once I start taking it to the customers, then there would be a lot more a different kind of an experience which will come my way. But what I'm doing right now is, I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm validating what my thoughts are, taking to them. Sometimes I don't like what I hear because it is not what I'm building, and that really sinks me and takes me down. But there are days when they say, "Oh, this is amazing, this is great, and this is what I have in mind." Those days, I'm so thrilled. I say, "Yeah, my life is made." So, all what I can say right now is either I'm extremely happy or extremely sad. So there is nothing in between. But over a period of time is when I would say I will really experience this in a different way. Maybe when we speak next year, if you decide to invite me again, at that time I'll
No,
have
absolutely. I think
answer.
I'm, we are going to have episode 2 and 3 with you. I think, to be really honest, it was really informative and so much uh, uh, like this is has so much potential. I think we need to, as startups, we need to think about multiple channels. It's not just about getting market fit. It's about also getting the GTM business market fit and having multiple channels, not just to get to $1 million or $5 million. It's about having predictability in different channels to get to 50 or 100 million. Yeah.
I think this is to all the founders who are listening in. Few thoughts from my experiences. See, you can never be a large company if you don't have partners. So, I have seen big companies. So I'm saying this, not with arrogance, but, with experience and humility, because I've seen this from very close. It does not make you very big if you don't have more hands which are selling it for you. And with with the kind of motion that initially gets built out when you don't have a channel, just think of it. It's just pure math, okay? Uh, when you are like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, at that time, for you to grow your new revenue at 100%, you need say X. At $1 million you need say X, and when you get to 5 million, you need a lot more. So the kind of pipeline, the amount of pipeline you need to continue to grow at that 100%, 50, 80% as you get grower, as you get bigger, gets increasingly hard. It starts getting very tough. And if you're largely depending on either inbound business, or if you're largely depending on outbound business, then you will start seeing the costs really hit the roof. Your inbound may not, it may not be as cheap. If you can be extremely efficient, which companies are, then you may do well, but you will still have an aspiration to do outbound. How many BDRs can you hire? How many, how many of them can be truly productive? Can they get you two leads, two meetings in a month, four meetings in a month? Does that really take you to the kind of 4x or a 5x pipeline you need to win? It just feels very, very linear, and it is completely stacked up against you if you don't start building this right away. And when it comes to channel, it is very non-linear. You can run channels like you run sales, like you can build partners, you can actually count the capacity they have. So I would want to see the channel rep, not the channel head, but I want to see which guy is selling, so I know who's that person, whether this guy can sell, this girl can sell or not. So all of them are your salespeople. So try expanding that capacity. Even if 30%, 40% of them deliver, then you have that additional pipeline which can take you home. Otherwise, this part will only take you that far, is my final humble submission.
Absolutely. I think you summarized it better. It is important to know when to start this as early as possible. And this you can't build a great business without partner channel. And you have to understand it's not just one market. We are focusing on multiple markets, and you need the local partners to help you grow your business. So with that, Anand, thank you so much for being on our Marketing Nation SaaSBoomi podcast season 2, and looking forward to hosting you again in a broader topic in GTM. And good luck with your new journey. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Arvind. It was wonderful being here, and it's always great to catch up with you. I'm hopeful that these were helpful, and I reach out to the founders, and I'm always available if anybody wants to reach out for any help. I'm only a call. Thank you again.